Hey, what's up, guys? It's just me today because David is actually out at the Stax warehouse. He's got about 480 Stax units to be packing today. But really wanted to talk about all the questions that are coming in, and first and foremost, thank you so much for sending in those questions. As we kind of get into it, I'd like to take you guys over to the whiteboard because I have a lot of fun writing these things out so we can kind of get a really good visual for how this stuff works. So come on over, let's go. First one's from Tammy. She says, "Hi Chris, I watched the TLC show about how you helped David lose his weight. He's so inspiring and gives me hope." Thank you very much, Tammy. We absolutely love this if you can't tell already. And so I'm so glad that we actually inspired you and that you came to us and we can help answer your questions. "I don't believe in a quick fix like gastric bypass. I know it takes exercise and good food. I always want to promote the natural and healthy way of losing weight, and of course David and I did what we did just to prove to everybody that it can be done naturally, and it can be done naturally faster than with gastric bypass. Now granted though, keep in mind a lot of the folks that get gastric bypass, it's not a bad thing at all. Sometimes we need something invasive just to set us on a different track. If we're going one specific direction and that direction is extremely destructive, sometimes it takes gastric bypass to send us in a new direction. So I'm not for it, I'm not against it. We're just here to answer your questions and just to show you that there are alternatives and it really can be done. But true, it does take exercise and good food, and even if you do get gastric bypass, it still takes exercise and good food. So Tammy, you brought up a really good point. "I'm doing pretty well on the nutrition part. It's just the exercise that's a problem for me. My knees are bad, so I am just not sure what to do for aerobic exercise. I need to lose about 110 pounds. If you have any ideas on things I can do with my bad knees, I'd love to hear from you. Take care." All right, Tammy, you brought up some really good points, and I know that there's a lot of other folks out there who can sympathize with you because bad joints, especially the ankle, the knee, and the hip, we hear about it all the time, especially when we're carrying all that weight up top. So, bad knees, let's talk about this. Now, when it comes to cardio, granted, it is very important that we are going to be doing our cardio for our exercise. We have to be doing that. And when it comes down to like the best kind of cardio, we always say, well, the best kind of cardio is the kind that you're going to enjoy the most, because if you enjoy it, you're actually going to do it. I'm a huge fan of walking. You can see that some of the most incredible weight loss success stories, they really do come from walking. However, for some of us, even with bad knees, we can walk. We just can't do the really high impact aerobic type activities. However, a lot of us with bad knees, we can't walk. And if we can't, then it's really important that we're going to take that high impact and we're going to find a really low impact kind of activity that we can do over a prolonged period of time, because that's really what cardiovascular exercise is. It's a low impact muscle contraction, a very light muscle contraction that's sustained over a long period of time. That's all we want to do when it comes to our cardio, because that way we can mobilize our fat from that energy blanket that we're carrying it. We can shuttle it into the muscle. We can oxidize it, or it's also called burning that body fat. So we can actually burn a lot of body fat during our cardiovascular activity. So let's talk about some low impact cardiovascular activity, especially if you can't walk because you got those bad knees. So one of the first things that we always like to do, we say, okay, let's try to take our walking into the water. If you have access to a pool, that's probably one of the best things you can do, because you can walk in the water and it's extremely low impact. Plus, because of all the drag and all the resistance of that water on your body, you can get an even deeper muscle contraction through what we call the posterior chain, which is going to be the butt and the hamstrings. So you can actually dig and pull. So if you have access to a pool, awesome. But if you don't, there's some other really good alternatives. So number one, I'm going to say let's take it into the water. We call it water walking. If you don't, no problem. A few other things you can do that are extremely low impact. Cycling. Cycling is actually a really incredible form of cardiovascular activity. Plus, you can control the intensity. Now, cycling, there's two different cycles. There's one where kind of like a spin cycle that many of us have seen, except those seats are extremely uncomfortable. So, especially if you're looking to drop about 110 pounds, you're probably going to want to, and you'll prefer what we call a recumbent cycle. That's the kind that you sit back on and your feet are kind of up here, and so you can cycle on it there. That's going to be your recumbent cycle. Now, keep in mind, for the most part, it's relatively low impact because we're not picking up the foot and dropping it back down on the ground. It stays on the pedal and it simply continues through a range of motion. However, if that is also difficult on those knees, then number three, let's talk about an elliptical machine. And that elliptical machine, of course, if you do have access to a gym, they've got these great commercial elliptical machines that you can get on there and simply move. Same thing though, that foot stays in place on a pedal and it simply moves around like that, as opposed to picking it up, dropping it back down. So here's just some quick alternatives to getting those lower body muscles moving so you can accomplish your cardiovascular exercise. I really hope that some of this stuff helps you out just a little bit. So thank you very much, Tammy. All right, our next question is from Allison, and Allison says, I need some fitness advice. I've recently had surgery and I gained some weight, about 10 pounds to be exact. I've been having a lot of trouble dropping it. It's that proverbial last 10 pounds. We understand, we hear about it all the time. I've always been in good shape and I just can't seem to lose the weight. I eat very healthy, no junk food. Any advice on some better cardio or core conditioning that could help me drop these pesky pounds? All right, Allison. Okay, I think this actually, it's a pretty simple solution. So believe it or not, I'm going to explain a few things to you, and you guys are going to see me talk about this all the time. And it's something called progressive overload. Say. Progressive overload. Believe it or not, when it comes to losing weight, that surgery that you came back from, that's kind of a blessing. Simply because when you go through surgery, obviously you're going to be laid out for a little while, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. This gives your body a chance to what we call unload. So whatever your conditioning level was, however many times you were working out a week, say, well, let's just say for example you're working out 3 times a week. So your conditioning level was here. However, after about 2 weeks or so of inactivity, your conditioning level goes down. This is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to breaking through that plateau and dropping those last 10 pounds. And whether you're looking to lose 10 pounds or 100 pounds, anytime you're at a little bit of a plateau, this is exactly what we want to do to break through it from the exercise standpoint. So you had a certain conditioning level. You went through surgery, your conditioning, after you're laid out for a couple weeks, your conditioning level goes down. So now we have a wonderful starting point here. What we're going to do is progressive overload. Basically that means is when we start out, less is more. We're simply going to create a very simple structure, perhaps 3 days a week, walking 30 minutes. I know that might not sound a lot, especially if you were running 5 days a week at 60 minutes here. We're just going to simply have you walking 3 days a week at 30 minutes here. Reason being is that your body adapts to everything that we do. And after you do the same kind of workout about 3 to 6 times, your body gets used to that workout. And if your body gets used to that workout, you're not going to get results anymore. So we're going to walk 3 days a week at 30 minutes here. We're going to do that for the very first week because that's going to be 3 different workouts. You see where I'm going here? So we have walking 30 minutes, walking 30 minutes, walking 30 minutes. Now, has your body gotten used to that? Absolutely. So the next week we're going to say, let's say walking 40 minutes 3 days a week. So now we're going to be walking 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes. Your body gets used to that after another week. Now let's bump it up to 4 days a week. So we go 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes, 40 minutes. And what's happening is that we're going to slowly create this curve of conditioning right back up, and that is progressive overload. So basically, when it comes to the actual cardio, and you know what? This works with weight training, it works with cardiovascular conditioning, it works with everything that we do involving the human body and this incredible machine of flesh and blood. Whatever we expose our body to after 3 to 6 exposures, our body gets used to it. So we have to increase it in order to reap the same results. So say you walked for that first week, you dropped 2 pounds. If you kept walking 3 days a week at 30 minutes, you're not going to get any more results after that. Henceforth, a plateau. So now we have to increase it. But you don't want to increase it too much. What if you jumped in here the very first week back and you were running 5 days a week for 60 minutes? What happened? Well, immediately you tried to jump right back up to here and you showed your body all of your cards at once. It's just like playing poker with your body. You want to play one card at a time because your body will figure it out. If you play all your cards at once, game over, plateau. So, Allison, I hope this answers your question.